Hey, everybody, welcome back to this episode of Think Business Live. I'm looking forward to having our next two guests, Howard Brown and Cristian Valencia. Fellas, it's great to have you here. I'm looking forward to talking about your business, cleanpathbooths.com. Basically, mobile temperature and cleaning stations. I mean, pretty important, especially for today's world that we are in. And so I'm looking forward to talking to you guys, not only as business people and owners, but entrepreneurs, and how you and time to market, right? You know, there's always that fast first and right, and how you get to market. And so I kind of would like to start there. You know, is this something that came about because of COVID, which I just want to say this too. 1 year ago today, on March 2nd, I was doing a keynote in Nashville for a few hundred people. And on the 3rd, when we were leaving, they were stopping domestic and international travel. Came home, everything was about COVID. We were still planning on going on spring break with our kids in April because we didn't know how bad it was. And here we are 1 year later, right? And so I want to know, was this something that was in the works, or was this something that you said, hey, there's an opportunity and now we're going to build on it?
Right. Well, thank you, John, and welcome for thank you for the opportunity. I think it's a little bit of both. Personally experienced COVID while I was abroad. I was in Peru, Lima, Peru, and early on, I was able to actually help local businesses and institutions because of the work that we do in Asia and other parts of the world, tapping into manufacturers, providing the necessity of those institutions, such as masks and gowns and so on, PPE. And what came about this is actually talking to some of the manufacturers in the network that we currently have on what are the solutions on stopping the spread of this disease, and combining it with technology and the chemical space that we are on. As you know, we have the parent company to Clean Path Foods is D-Day Chemicals and Logistics. And we decided to employ a manufacturer in Asia to build these booths. And we've been in conversations with other companies that can implement additional technology to the booths and other features to the booths to prevent, detect the disease, and quickly translate that to solutions, right? Now we have access to the vaccination, and I think what's unique about this opportunity is sharing information with the right, like the My Charts of the world and others. But yes, it was a little bit of both.
Let me ask you, that's great. Let me ask you a question. You know, when you're talking about detecting the disease and things of that nature, but I watched the videos that Howard sent me, and one of the things this does is it takes your temperature. So I just want to focus on that before we focus on only COVID, because to me there's certain things that I hope stick as lifestyle changes, and taking a temperature before you get on a plane. I remember dropping my kids off at nursery school. They just turned 15 and 18. And I remember thinking, every kid has a green nose. Everyone in my family is going to be sick for the next 2.5 months as it goes through my entire family. You go to the office where there's always people that show up with 102 fever. They don't want to work. And it's kind of like, you're infecting everybody. And not just, I'm not talking COVID. I'm talking the flu, strep throat. I mean, anything that's out there. So I'm wondering, before we dive into what it does for COVID and getting people back to work, what do you think about just the lifestyle change of some of these things sticking, to prevent people from just staying home when they're sick with whatever?
I mean, Howard, I think you've been doing a lot more of the promotion. Do you want to take that?
Howard, what are your thoughts on that?
So here's the deal. We're entering what would they call the new normal, right? This technology to be able to do, take temperature scanning through facial recognition is really important. I will tell you that almost every college student now is actually having to report into a daily portal. They're self-taking their temperature. Employers want to know that you're healthy before you come into their office or settings or a doctor's office. They do just a screening test on your forehead. That data is important because a fever, okay, or a higher temperature is a determinant of basically you're unhealthy at that point in time. Now, it could be temporary. It doesn't mean that you actually have the flu. It doesn't mean that you're sick. You could be overheated. You just jogged. You just walked. You ran for the train. But it's the first indicator, okay, that something could be wrong. And fever is a big indicator of flu and of the COVID-19 virus.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I just, what are your thoughts on, I hope 10 years from now that companies are still taking temperatures to make sure that people are healthy when they walk into places, because it just keeps everybody healthier. Right. And so let's talk about COVID. Right. So you create these booths. They're kind of, I'll let you describe them, but from the video I saw, it's kind of like you walk into one of the scenarios was a booth, facial recognition, takes your temperature. I mean, kind of walk people through what your product does.
So the CleanPath booth, and then we actually have things for cart and luggage called CleanPath carts. But basically, it's a human car wash. It's legitimately, if you put it in an example, it's simple, is that you're taking your temperature, you're washing your hands, and then you get a mist, basically a hydrochlorous or a chlorine mist, no different than diving in a swimming pool, right? That basically takes care of your clothes and yourself, and it actually then cleans your shoes. And then this isn't going to cure COVID, but at least they actually walk in with some confidence to be able to go into a restaurant, go to an office, go back to a crowded concert or sporting event. This isn't new technology. This is implemented in airports and bus stations and places outside of the U.S. right now.
Where, Howard? I'm curious.
There's videos of this happening in South America, Russia, Asia, Australia, and it's just not happening here in the U.S. And Cristian and I decided to do something about it.
Yeah. And what are numbers showing? I recently was watching the Australian Open, which, in the beginning, I thought I was watching a past version. There was no mask. Then they shut down. Then they brought everybody back. There was 30,000 people at one point with masks. So where they're using them, what are the numbers showing?
So the numbers are showing that they actually give people more confidence. Right now, you still have, with people opening up and vaccines happening, there's still the early adopters that people don't care. Then there's the people that are, 50-50. And then there's the people like my wife that haven't gone out of the house, 5 times in a whole year. So the numbers are showing that this actually gives people confidence, okay, to be able to return to the new normal. And that's really important, is that you want to actually be proactive. You want to, as an employer, okay, or someone that is actually welcoming something into their place of business, or even a hospital, you want to make sure that it's safe. And that is really making the whole environment safe is the whole number one reason why we're actually, bringing this, new way, the human car wash into the U.S.
You were talking about early adopters. It reminded me of a book I read many, many decades ago, Crossing the Chasm by Geoffrey Moore,
Sure.
Where he kind of has the early adopters and then the laggards who kind of follow after. And so what I'm curious about is the mindset of these machines, right? So I remember a year ago when everyone was talking about starting to wear masks, and it was kind of like, it just seems so foreign. And now, like, you go out and about, people are wearing masks. You're not even really paying attention. It doesn't even seem like it's a thing. And so the mindset of walking into a building and that piece of freedom walking away, right? Or being taken away, excuse me. How do you see the mindset in other countries, and then offices and buildings doing that here, right?
Well, John, I'm going to tell you that I actually been traveling throughout South America during COVID. I have followed all the guidelines, wearing my mask. And what you do see in these countries is actually a lot of businesses being proactive. Temperature checks, even the small mom and pops restaurants that are open to half capacity are taking your temperature, are writing down your names, ensuring that they have a point of contact where they might be able to contact you if you're perhaps spread the disease. And you do see these tunnels, these booths, also being part of the day-to-day business in those countries.
The
and
landscape.
People are adapting to the landscape, right?
The landscape.
The second part of this is freedom. I understand here in the U.S. is a subject that we're trying to navigate. How?
Well, what I mean by that, I just want to clarify something. When I say freedom, I mean just the freedom of like running in and out of a building. You just, that type. I mean, the freedom of just, hey, I forgot my keys. And now it's like, wait, I got to wait in line for 20 minutes. Or, I'm talking about that, just the fluidness of things.
Right. Well, this equipment actually, it takes 15 seconds for the whole process to take place. Right. So it I think is 15 seconds well spent. Yeah.
No, I agree. All right, let's talk about distribution. You see this happening all around the country. You bring it to the United States. Two entrepreneurs, two business people with extensive backgrounds in business. How are you finding the growth of your business this past year and moving forward over the course of the next 1, 2, 3 years? How are sales? How are you find yourself selling, and how is the distribution of all of this?
John, I want to set the table for you. We just, Cristian and I, we negotiated the global import-export distributorship in January. We built the website, launched it in early February. So we've started the conversation now. Oh my God, we are talking to meat food processing for their employees, manufacturers, car dealers, hotel chains, restaurant chains, and franchisees. We're getting a lot of traction right now, and we're still actually going to bring in our first orders at the end of March, early April. We're shipping them in from Asia.
Got it.
So it's really still new in the evangelizing here in the U.S. As far as overseas, Cristian has a lot more traction in South America and Asia and outside in Europe and things like that as well.
Yeah. I just want to comment on that one second, Howard, because I've known you for a long time, and every time we don't know each other well, but when I talk to you, you're always so passionate and like in the moment of things. And so when you reached out and told me about this idea, you sent me so much content, so much information, so many videos. I mean, I just kind of assumed it's been around. I haven't seen any here locally, but I kind of assumed that it had been around for the past year. So I just want to point out kudos to you, because I think, being in alignment and being passionate and having, so much, love for a product is so important. So,
well, John, you have known me. I'm a serial entrepreneur. Babson College is in my DNA, and I'm excited about that. But really, the thing that Cristian and I bonds us together, that we're in service to humanity. This is in the moment. First responders, when Cristian asked me to join up and partner with him, was really to get PPE to providers, and then we started to look at other ways of bringing businesses back to the new normal. And this took research. And so it might have seemed like we've been doing this for years, but no, this is a fairly new effort. But the research the last 6 months has been in detail and in depth.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And so how do you guys see yourselves over the next of the course year, let's just say for the remainder of this year and next year? Do you see yourselves, as business partners? How do you do responsibility? I think, business owners, especially in a world of post-COVID 2021, I think things are moving with technology, especially things are moving faster than ever. Time to market and then execution to distribute it has to happen quickly, or, so what is your plan for that?
So here's the deal. We think that even with being vaccinated, there could be new strains. There's always different flu shots, and I get the flu shot, and sometimes it doesn't work, right? So I think this becomes common business practice, that people actually, the smart business owners are going to say, listen, I care about you, my customer. And when you enter my premise or facility, or you enter the doctor's office or a hospital, that you'll want to do this. And you're saying that right now, listen, you walk in, you make sure you're wearing a mask and you wash your hands. Let's take it to the next step. Let's really actually show you that we're going to actually, take your temperature, do track and trace for you, and understand as an employer that this is an employee benefit. We want you to stay healthy. We want you to stay productive. And so I see the business actually growing, and the interest is strong. Cristian, do you have anything to add?
No, I second that. I think the interest is strong. I think people want to go back to work at their office buildings. Myself, I have the kids now at home, and my wife and I try to alternate, but you can only do so much, right? So I think there's that passion of getting people back to work that is going to continue to grow.
Yeah.
I would say, John, my daughter's a sophomore at University of Michigan, and I have to tell you, unfortunately, they're teenagers and young adults. They gather. I think that you're going to see, as Cristian says, he's got little ones 3 to 6 years old, that the schools, where viruses and colds, as you spoke of, propagate in the college campuses, where they come from different areas and then recongregate. And as they actually in September will actually, not get off a Zoom school and actually meet in person and go to class. I think this is an important next step for those colleges and universities and higher education to consider as well.
Yeah. Let's. I agree. It's. I agree with what you guys are talking about. Let's talk about you as business partners. I think choosing the right business partner is so important, right? Especially when you're moving as fast as the world is moving today. And so, as business partners, how have you, especially over these just last couple months, grown the business where it is? And, how do you divvy up roles and responsibilities to make sure that you're each doing not only the activities in the business, but also on the business? Because I would think that, the critical leading activities to grow the business is number one. So how did you start? So let me just ask the first question. How did you decide to go into business together? And how did you know it was a right fit?
Howard, you want to take that one?
Sure. So
let's start with that.
So Cristian and I were introduced during a couple of PPE deals for gloves, masks, goggles, and shields, and we called each other, and we didn't like the way it was going. And Cristian actually was deploying planes from Shanghai to bring in KN95 masks to first responders, and I thought it was brilliant because he was actually being able to take control of a very crazy supply chain that had no rules. And after that, Cristian has an existing business deploying specialized chemicals to many markets around the world, and that business got stalled. And so while it got stalled, me being the digital technology entrepreneur, Cristian and I started, conversing and taking ideas in. And actually, now I'm helping him relaunch his chemicals business. I don't know anything about the chemicals business, but I am a good entrepreneur and businessman, and we're helping each other do that. So I'm learning from him, and he's learning from me. And we basically had a good entrepreneurship. He's from the finance background in chemicals, and I'm an entrepreneur in technology. And we actually made a very good match. It was a really good, as we say in Judaism, a shidduch. It was a made match, and we really complement each other in a lot of different ways, and we divide and conquer. And he's got a team of people internationally in offices around the world that he coordinates, and he's brought me into the business family, and I appreciate that. And I've enjoyed every minute of it, and keep learning, and we keep moving forward and building and driving revenue. It's
great.
Listen, I enjoy every minute that I get to deal with Howard. When we first got introduced, I said, listen, I really want that guy working on my team. He's just very energetic and passionate on what he's doing. And I tapped into him and I said, listen, I'm doing other things besides PPE. Would you like to join? And he's like, yeah, man, I'm on it. And the way we divide and conquer is, I try to do a lot of international leads, a lot of involvement within the chemical world now that it's back up. And in particular with the Clean Path booths, we're in conversations internationally with ministries in Ukraine and government entities abroad in South America. and just try to get the momentum going on the Clean Path boots as well. Keeping tabs with the manufacturer, ensuring that we have every single detail down to the timing of each process of this equipment. And Howard's right behind me. He's always backing me up on everything. So
yeah,
great partnership.
I love it. Hey, I have a quick question for you. Jay Rosen wants to know, who do you think the early adopters in the US will be of this product?
Great question. My take on it, I would really want it to be schools and college campuses. It's actually going to be manufacturing. The manufacturing for their employees, especially in components manufacturing, where they actually work in clean rooms, and meat processing has really come forth, to the forefront because of all the incidents of COVID breaking out, and getting healthy employees to actually come to work where they have to come to work has sort of been the forefront right now.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Jay, for that question. All right, fellas, you ready for a quick speed round?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure.
All right. Favorite book and why?
So my book is Bounce. Okay. And it's an author by the name of Robert Wicks. And it's all about resilience. And in this black cloud of COVID that's affected people, emotional well-being and freedom to move about the country from Southwest Airlines, right? Bounce is talking about that resilience, and we all have it within ourselves to get through this harsh moment in time, and to provide a positive outcome and help our communities get back on track.
Yeah, I love it. That's a great book. Cristian, how about you?
I would say Shining Brightly, Howard Brown. This man has,
to be come out.
That's a free plug, right?
Yeah,
not even out yet.
Listen, I had the pleasure of getting an exclusive preview of it, and it is an amazing story. This man has done a lot, and I look up to him. To be honest with you, and I'm looking forward to that book.
I love it. Well, and Howard, we'll have you back once the book is live.
Thank you.
Last question, fellas. You talked about learning from each other, and I think that's the greatest thing. You never want to be the smartest person in the room. You always want to be able to learn from other people. And so, Howard, what's one thing you learned about yourself from Cristian?
Integrity matters.
All right.
Integrity matters a lot.
Yeah. And Cristian, same question for you about Howard.
The well-being of others.
Yeah.
I mean, that speaks a lot from Howard, and I have learned that from him as well.
I love it. One last question. 10 seconds. What do you each want your legacy to be?
My legacy is the pledge I took at Babson College, which is an elite entrepreneurial education to effect the greater good for humanity.
I love it. Cristian?
And I would say actually setting roots in other parts of the world where we can promote the well-being of people from the bottom. I honestly have been abroad and have the opportunity to meet incredible organizations that could use our help, and we want to cement that as our legacy as well, contributing to those societies.
I love it. I think I love what you guys are doing. Tell everybody how they can connect with you and get more information on Clean Path Boots. It can also be found at cleanpathboots.com.
Absolutely. So LinkedIn, Howard Brown, I'm there, visible. Connect me. Cristian's on LinkedIn, and be glad to interact with anyone for questions. And we're glad that you brought us on the show to think big, because we think this is a big idea. And John, you are the king of thinking big now.
It is. One of the legacies I want to inspire over 1 billion people to get unstuck and grow their business. I believe that everybody should have access to business coaching. And that's why I do custom one-on-one and group coaching and help as many people as I can. I love what you guys are doing. I would love to have you back on the show in a couple months and do a check-in to see how things are going. Excellent. And Howard, will have you back talking about the book. Appreciate the love you have for each other and just the resilience and that we talked about today. Thanks for keeping everybody in the world healthy, clean, clean. This is like cleanpathboots.com.
Right.
Thanks, everybody. Think community. If cleanpathboots.com can help you, reach out. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, John.
Absolutely.
Have a great one. Be safe.